Police officers dismissed the old man's story until the FBI director walked in county sheriff's office, small town in Montana, Tuesday afternoon. The building sits on Main Street between a hardware store and a diner that's been serving the same coffee for 40 years. 2 stories, red brick, an American flag hanging limp in the still air. Inside, the smell of burnt coffee and old carpet, fluorescent lights humming overhead, a dispatcher's radio crackling softly in the background. At the front desk, a young deputy, Morrison, 26, 3 years on the job, types slowly on a computer that takes 10 seconds to load each screen. Behind him, DeputyWilliams leans against a filing cabinet, scrolling through her phone. Half listening to the scanner, the door opens. An old man walks in. He's maybe 80, maybe older, thin, wearing khaki pants and a plaid shirt tucked in too high, wire-rimmed glasses, a worn canvas jacket despite the heat. He moves carefully, one hand steadying himself against the doorframe. His other hand grips a manila folder. Morrison looks up. "Help you, sir?" The old man approaches the desk slowly, sets the folder down. His hands shake slightly, not from fear, but from age, from years. "I need to report something," he says. His voice is quiet, steady. Morrison nods, clicks his pen. "All right. What's the nature of the complaint?" The old man opens the folder, pulls out a photograph, black and white, grainy. A man standing beside a car, 1970s, maybe earlier. "I know where Thomas Keller is," the old man says. Morrison stares at the photo, then at the old man. "Sir, I'm not sure what—" "Thomas Keller," the old man repeats. "Disappeared in 1974, suspected in the deaths of at least 4 people across 3 states. Never found." Morrison exchanges a glance with Williams. She's paying attention now. "Sir, that's 50 years ago." "I'm aware." Morrison shifts in his chair. "And you're saying you know where this person is?" "I'm saying I know where he's buried." Silence. Williams walks over, looks at the photo. "How do you know that?" The old man looks at her. His eyes are pale gray, clear, unwavering. "Because I put him there." Morrison's hand stops mid-note. He blinks. "I'm sorry. What?" "I killed him," the old man says calmly. "August 1974, just outside Billings, and I buried him in the woods near Beartooth Pass." Williams straightens up. Morrison's jaw tightens. "Sir, are you confessing to a murder?" "Yes." Morrison looks at Williams. She looks back, uncertain. "This isn't protocol. This isn't normal." "Sir, I'm going to need you to wait here." Morrison stands. "Don't go anywhere." "I won't." Morrison walks quickly to the back. Williams stays, watching the old man. He doesn't move, doesn't fidget, just sits with his hands folded on the folder, looking at the counter. "Can I get your name, sir?" Williams asks. He looks up. James Porter." "And you said this happened in 1974? "August 14th. And you're just reporting it now?" Porter nods slowly. "I'm 83 years old. I have cancer. 6 months, maybe less. I wanted to make sure someone knew." Williams doesn't know what to say to that. Morrison returns with the sergeant. Hayes, mid-40s, 15 years on the force, already tired of this shift. He looks at Porter, at the folder. "Mr. Porter, I'm Sergeant Hayes. Deputy Morrison says you want to confess to a homicide." "That's correct." Hayes pulls up a chair, sits down slowly. "All right, let's start from the beginning. Who was Thomas Keller?" Porter opens the folder, pulls out a newspaper clipping, yellowed, brittle. The headline reads, "Murder Suspect Vanishes. Search Continues." "He killed 4 people that we know of," Porter says. "A family in Idaho, a hitchhiker in Wyoming, a waitress in Utah, probably more." Hayes scans the clipping. "And you're saying you killed him?" "I did." "Why?" Porter is quiet for a moment. His hands rest on the folder, steady now. "Because he was going to kill again," he says, "and no one else was going to stop him." Hayes leans back, studies the old man. "Mr. Porter, this is a serious claim. If you're wasting our time—" "I'm not." "Then you'll understand we need to verify this." "I expected that." Hayes glances at Morrison. "Run his name, check for priors." Morrison nods, turns to the computer, Types, waits, the screen loads, his face changes. Sarge, Hayes looks over. Morrison's pointing at the screen. James Porter, date of birth matches, former FBI, special agent, retired 1996. The room goes very still. Hayes looks back at Porter. You were FBI? 28 years. And you killed someone? Yes. Hayes exhales slowly. This just got complicated. Mr. Porter, I think we need to make some calls. They move Porter to an interview room. Small, windowless, a table, 3 chairs, a recorder on the wall. Morrison brings him water. Porter thanks him, doesn't drink it. Hayes sits across from him. Williams stands by the door. Mr. Porter, before we go any further, I need to read you your rights. I understand. Hayes reads them. Porter listens, nods, signs the waiver without hesitation. All right, Hayes says. Let's hear it. Porter folds his hands on the table. In 1974, I was 32 years old. I'd been with the Bureau for 4 years. I was assigned to the Violent Crimes Unit. We were tracking Thomas Keller, suspected serial killer, active across the Mountain West. He pauses. Keller was smart, careful. He moved frequently, didn't leave much evidence. We knew he was responsible for at least 4 deaths, but we couldn't prove it, couldn't even find him. Hayes takes notes. How did you find him? I didn't. He found me. Porter reaches for the water now, takes a small sip. I was working the case out of the Billings field office, living in a motel. One night, I got a call, anonymous, male voice. He said, "You're looking for Thomas Keller. I can tell you where he is, but you have to come alone." And you went? Yes. Why? Porter looks at Hayes. Because I was young and stupid, and I thought I could handle it. He exhales. The caller gave me directions, a logging road outside town. I drove out there, middle of the night, no backup, no wire, just me and my service weapon. Williams speaks up. That's against protocol. I know. Why didn't you call it in? Porter is quiet for a long moment. Because I knew if I did, he'd disappear again, and more people would die. Hayes leans forward. So what happened? I got to the location, pulled off the road, waited. About 20 minutes later, headlights. A truck pulled up behind me. Single occupant. He got out, walked toward my car. Porter's voice is steady, but his eyes have drifted somewhere else, somewhere darker. It was Keller. I recognized him from the photos. He stood about 10 feet away, hands in his pockets, smiling. What did he say? He said, "You've been looking for me." I said, "Yes." He said, "You found me. Now what?" Porter's hands tightened slightly. I told him he was under arrest, told him to get on the ground. He laughed, said I didn't understand, said he called me there because he wanted me to know something. Know what? That he was going to kill again, the next day, a girl, 16 years old. He knew her name, knew where she lived, knew her schedule. Hayes stops writing. He told you he was going to kill someone? He wanted me to know I couldn't stop him, that even if I arrested him, he'd make bail, he'd disappear, and she'd die. Williams crosses her arms. So, what did you do? Porter looks at her. I shot him. The room is silent except for the hum of the fluorescent light. Hayes sets his pen down. You shot him. Twice, center mass. Was he armed? No. Was he advancing on you? No. Then why? Because he was going to kill her, Porter says. His voice doesn't rise, doesn't waver. And I couldn't let that happen. Hayes rubs his face. Jesus Christ. I wrapped the body in a tarp, drove it to the woods near Beartooth Pass, buried it, marked the location on a map, kept it all these years. He pulls a folded map from his folder, sets it on the table. Red ink circles a spot in the mountains. You can find him there. Hayes stares at the map, at Porter. Why are you telling us this now? Porter looks down at his hands. Because I'm dying, and I need someone to know the truth. I need someone to find him, to close the case, to give his victims' families an answer. He looks up. And because I need to know if I did the right thing? Before Hayes can respond, there's a knock on the door. Morrison opens it, leans in. His face is pale. Sarge, we've got a problem. What? There's someone here. Says he needs to see Porter. Now. Who? Morrison swallows. The FBI director. The man who walks into the sheriff's office is 68 years old. He's tall, gray hair, suit and tie despite the heat. An FBI badge clipped to his belt. 2 agents follow. Him, younger, sharp-eyed, silent. Hayes meets him in the hallway. "I'm Sergeant Hayes. Can I help you?" The man extends his hand. "Director Paul Watkins, FBI. I'm here about James Porter." Hayes blinks. "You came yourself?" "I did." "Why?" Watkins looks toward the interview room. "Because Jim Porter saved my life, and I owe him the courtesy of hearing his story in person." He walks past Hayes, opens the door. Porter looks up. His face changes, just slightly. Recognition, maybe relief. "Paul?" "Jim." Watkins sits down, waves Hayes and Williams out. They hesitate. He looks at them. "This is bureau business now. Thank you for your cooperation." Hayes wants to argue, doesn't. He and Williams leave. The door closes. Watkins sits across from Porter. For a long moment, neither speaks. Finally, Watkins says, "You confessed." "I did." "Why?" "Because it's time." Watkins leans back. "You know what this means." "I do. You'll lose your pension, your legacy, everything." Porter nods slowly. "I know." Watkins shakes his head. "Jim, you were one of the best agents I ever worked with. You closed 43 cases. You put away rapists, murderers, terrorists. You saved lives. I also took one. You killed a serial killer. I executed him." The words hang in the air. Watkins is quiet. Then, "Tell me what happened. All of it." Porter tells him. The same story, the same details. The night, the road, the conversation, the shots. When he finishes, Watkins is silent for a long time. "Did you check the girl?" he finally asks. "The one Keller said he was going to kill?" Porter nods. "The next day, she was fine, alive, safe. Did he really know her name?" Porter hesitates. "I don't know. He said he did, but I never verified it. So he might have been lying. Maybe. Or maybe he was testing you, seeing if you'd break." Porter looks at him. "Does it matter?" Watkins doesn't answer. "I've carried this for 50 years, Porter says. "I've asked myself 1,000 times if I did the right thing. If there was another way. If I could have called for backup. If I could have arrested him and made it stick." He exhales. "And I don't know. I still don't know. But what I do know is that after that night, Thomas Keller never killed anyone again. And that girl, whoever she was, she lived. She got to grow up, have a life, maybe have kids of her own." He looks at Watkins. "Was that worth it? Was one life, his life, worth trading for hers?" Watkins stands, walks to the corner of the room, stares at the wall. "You know what the worst part of this job is?" he says quietly. Porter waits. "It's knowing that sometimes the law and justice aren't the same thing, that sometimes doing the right thing means breaking the rules, and living with the consequences." He turns around. "In 1982, I was a junior agent, green, stupid. I got pinned down in a warehouse raid, 4 suspects, all armed. My partner was hit. I was out of ammo. I thought I was dead." He pauses. "And then you showed up. You weren't even assigned to that case. You just heard the call and came. You put yourself between me and 3 gunmen. You took a bullet in the shoulder, and you didn't stop until they were down." He walks back to the table. "You saved my life, Jim. And because of that, I gotta have a career, a family, grandkids. I gotta live." He sits down. "So yes, I think trading one killer's life for an innocent person's life is worth it. But that's not my call to make. It's not even yours. It's the law's." Porter nods. "I understand. Do you? I'm ready for whatever comes next." Watkins looks at him for a long time. Then he reaches into his jacket, pulls out a file, sets it on the table. This is the Thomas Keller case file, compiled in 1974, never closed. He opens it, flips through pages, stops on one. "August 15th, 1974, the day after you say you killed him. A girl was reported missing in Billings, 16 years old, name withheld." Porter's face goes pale. "She was found 3 days later, alive. She'd run away from home, came back on her own. Watkins closes the file. Keller knew about her because it was in the local news. He used it to manipulate you, to see if you'd cross the line. Porter stares at the file. And you did, Watkins says softly. You crossed it to save someone who was never really in danger. The weight of it settles on Porter's shoulders. I killed him for nothing. No, Watkins says. You killed him because you believed it was right, because you thought a life was at stake. That's not nothing. That's called being human. He stands. But it's also called murder. The next morning, a federal team arrives. They drive to the coordinates Porter marked on the map. 4 agents, a forensic team, ground-penetrating radar, cadaver dogs. It takes 6 hours. They find him, 50 years in the ground. But the bones are there. Dental records confirm it. Thomas Keller, dead since 1974. The case is officially closed. Porter is arrested. No bail. He doesn't fight it. The story breaks nationally. Former FBI agent confesses to 50-year-old killing. The media swarms. Some call him a hero. Some call him a murderer. Most just call him old. In the county jail, Porter sits on a bunk, hands folded, staring at the wall. Hayes visits him, brings coffee, sets it on the table outside the cell. Why'd you really turn yourself in? Hayes asks. Porter looks at him. Because I wanted to be able to die knowing I didn't run from it. Most people would have taken it to the grave. I'm not most people. Hayes nods, pauses. For what it's worth, I don't think you're a bad man. Porter almost smiles. I appreciate that. I think you made a bad call, but I think you made it for the right reasons. Doesn't change what I did? No, but it changes why. Hayes leaves. Porter goes back to staring at the wall. 3 weeks later, Porter has a visitor. It's a woman, early 60s, nervous. She gives her name to the guard. They bring her to the visitation room. Porter sits across from her, hands cuffed. He doesn't recognize her. Mr. Porter, she says. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I don't know if you remember me. He shakes his head slowly. In 1974, I was Sarah Collins. I was 16. I ran away from home for 3 days. Porter goes very still. I heard about your case, she continues. About what you said. About Thomas Keller. About why you did it. Her voice cracks slightly. I need you to know something. 2 weeks after I came home, a man approached me outside my school. He knew my name, knew where I lived. He asked me if I wanted a ride home. She wipes her eyes. I said no. I ran, and I never saw him again. But years later, when they released photos of Keller's victims, I recognized something. A necklace. One of the girls was wearing a necklace identical to one he tried to give me that day. Porter's breathing has gone shallow. I don't know if it was him, she says. I'll never know, but I think it was. And if it was, you didn't kill him for nothing. She stands. You saved me, Mr. Porter. Maybe not the way you thought, but you did. She leaves. Porter sits alone in the room. For the first time in 50 years, he cries. James Porter dies 4 months later, in hospice, pancreatic cancer. The trial never happens. At his funeral, there are 40 people. Most of them are FBI, current and former. Some he worked with, some he trained, some he saved. Director Watkins gives the eulogy. He doesn't talk about the case. He talks about the man, about integrity, about sacrifice, about the weight of choices made in the dark. He ends with this. Jim Porter was not a perfect man. He made a choice that haunts him to his grave, but he made it believing he was saving a life. And whether he was right or wrong, he owned it. He faced it. He didn't run. That's more than most of us can say. The case file is sealed. The location is marked. Thomas Keller's victims finally have closure. And somewhere in Montana, a woman named Sarah plants a tree for the man who may have saved her life by taking one. Justice isn't always clean. Sometimes it's just a man trying to do right in the dark and living with the cost. End